Utopian Revolt! Hello, sir, and welcome back, everybody, to the return of Geeks and Goblins. Oh, it's a joyous, momentous occasion. How do you all do? How do you do today, Utopian Revolt? Is he muted? He was
Ooh,
muted that entire time. There you go.
hello, hello.
You're back. A glorious return indeed.
We're back in full form. Let's do it.
And
Let's do
right,
it.
like right back where we left off.
Oh
I
man, no, it's been a fun day. It's been a fun day, and it wouldn't be Geeks and Goblins without audio issues. So we are back fully.
yes, no. What better way? I think it's become like an on brand thing a little bit. Like it adds to the character of it all. Either way, back from a month-long hiatus. Oh, I have missed just the idea of this format, and we have missed quite a bit. Too much to cover in probably one night, but we've missed quite a few things. So we've got a little bit of ground to cover. But I don't even really know where to begin.
Okay, I have something that I want to just get right out of the way. Very near and dear to my heart.
Ooh,
Assassin's Creed Mirage has officially been announced, and there will be a reveal next week on Saturday, September 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern.
it's really fitting that you opened up with Assassin's Creed, because while I was waiting for this time to pass, I was thinking to myself, what to open with, and I was like, Assassin's Creed is coming out. Like, we have so many things that we could talk about with that, just as far as like where the franchise has been, where it's going, what it stands for, what it means to gaming. There's so much to talk about just with Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, it's there's no denying that since I would argue Assassin's Creed 2, but to a lesser extent Assassin's Creed the original, Assassin's Creed has become one of the top tier, or I guess most popular franchises in video game history, to the point where it's no longer just a video game, it's a multimedia franchise. A lot of the story arcs that are introduced in the video games annoyingly get resolved in comic books. We have a really bad movie attached to it.
It's not
We
good.
have an upcoming Disney Plus show attached to Assassin's Creed. We have an anime coming out made by the creators of the Castlevania anime on Netflix. Um, but for better or for worse, the franchise has evolved since day one, to the point where now we have sprawling and massive open world games. And I think you and I have talked about it before on the stream, but the new direction, while it isn't bad, it's not what we fell in love with initially.
No, I mean, so if you played the original Assassin's Creed games, there are really like two sides to that coin, right? There are the people who are like, "Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed. I just love Assassin's Creed." Da 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 da. And then there's the whole other side of that coin. It's the people who are like, "This isn't my Assassin's Creed." And this started what? Let's say around Origins.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
started with Origins, but I think that particular vibe really kicked in at I always forget the name of it.
Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really when it set in. I don't, I'm, I, I'm on that side, right? I'm not gonna lie. I'm on that side. I'm part of the whole. Yeah, this isn't my Assassin's Creed. What happened to the assassins? What is this RPG stuff? And I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am
Nope.
for what I'm hearing as
Mm.
far as this new Assassin's Creed.
And OG Goblin, what you are hearing is that this is going to be a return to basics. It's going to be a stealth based game. It's not going to have any of the RPG mechanics from what we've heard. It's not going to have level scaling. It's going to be back to the basics, social stealth. We're going to basically take control of Basim, who was part of the Valhalla game. Actually, Mirage initially was going to be DLC for Valhalla, but it became so big that they made it its own game.
Huh.
And what's very interesting that what I've been hearing rumors of, this part hasn't been corroborated by any reputable journalists or insiders or anything like that, but it's been heavily rumored. Assassin's Creed 1 sounds like it's being remade. and it sounds like it's going to be using the same engine as Mirage, which is why it's taking place in what was it? It's supposed to take place in Baghdad. I'm pretty
Baghdad?
sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Baghdad.
Yeah, yeah. So, it, back to the basics, man. I couldn't be more pumped for this.
You know, you say back to basics, I say a return to form. Like, I don't know really what ever sparked their mind to think they should go the RPG route. You know, okay, the RPG route's not the problem. It was the execution of it, right?
Mm,
Like,
mm.
I think it makes sense to, you know, have a skill tree and have things that you're good at and stuff like that. But when you go into the realm of when you go into the realm of Spartans and Vikings, that just doesn't feel like Assassin's Creed to me at
Right.
all. Like these are brutish, like heavy hitting, like warrior archetypes that I do not associate with stealth, and I think that translates over to the gameplay. I would see more gameplay in these games of just like straight on, straightforward combat than, you know, the original Assassin's Creed where it was all creeping and like
Yeah.
leaping off of buildings, XYZ. You know, if you know the old Assassin's Creed, you know the old Assassin's Creed. I just thought it was so weird that they would go in that direction when in reality, if they wanted to, they could have just made a Spartan game and they could have just made a Viking game.
But it wouldn't have made the money that the Assassin's Creed franchise is known
Oh
for.
my
You know what I'm
god.
saying? That brand recognition. That being said, I will give you that. In order to successfully play Valhalla and Odyssey, and to a lesser extent Origins, to play that stealthily, you had to grind quite a bit to level up your equipment to get all that stuff. With Valhalla, they brought back the one hit assassination if you time it correctly, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that was such a great move. I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't like these last three games. Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, all three of them are some of my favorite experiences in gaming. I say that, but I still haven't finished Valhalla because of how large it is. For me, the problem isn't the RPG mechanics. For me, the issue isn't the combat or the presentation or the storytelling. Because I actually think that these last three games, especially Valhalla, have had some of the best writing that we've got from Assassin's Creed in a long time. For me, it's how expansive it is, how much you have to kind of like slug through 80 hours to be able to finish the main story and all that. That was my issue with these games. I still love them. I still hold them in very very high regard. Um, but going back to the point of people complaining that it's not their Assassin's Creed. I'm not talking about you when I say this. I'm talking about most people I've seen complaining about that same exact thing. I remember a time where people were complaining that Assassin's Creed was literally the same thing year after year after year after year. And then all of a sudden they come out with something completely different and then they get blasted for doing something completely different. I always thought it was funny, and I've made my peace that not everybody's gonna like Assassin's Creed ever, no matter what the hell. Um, so I've made my peace with it. I'm excited that they're going back to the social stealth aspect because that's what made me fall in love with the series. But I'm also not opposed to what they've been doing recently. And from what it sounds like, Mirage might not be the only piece of Assassin's Creed news that we get September 10th. Rumors have it that we may also be hearing an inkling about their big live service game, Assassin's Creed Infinite.
Oh,
Um, so, from what I've been hearing, that game is going to, instead of a traditional live service game, it's going to be more of a game within a game. I don't know if you've ever played Unity. I believe you've told me that you haven't, right?
I have. I have played Unity. I never beat Unity, but I. Well, no, I'm sorry. Yes, no, I did beat Unity.
Okay. So, do you remember in the beginning when it basically has you, the protagonist, you, the person playing the game, choosing between like different levels, but you could choose the first level, which was like set in the medieval ages?
Yes.
Apparently, that's what Infinite's going to be. It's just a selection of all these different time periods and settings, and you can just choose. If if they do it right, that sounds amazing. The fact that it's a live service game makes me a little skeptical.
I'm. You can miss me on the live service aspect of it all. I just. I feel like it's a gimmick I can't wait to run out. Like it's such a big thing that, you know, companies are buying other companies just because they're so good at doing live service. And I mean, so good. I say so good, but I just don't think everything works. or everything should be that way, you know? Some things are obviously benefiting from that. Like Destiny as a live service game clearly works. And what's it? Fortnite as a live service game, you know, it works, but I just don't think everything needs that format. Everything doesn't need the battle pass. Everything doesn't need, you know, the monthly events or the yearly events. I just they're gonna have to work really hard to convince me how Assassin's Creed is gonna fit into that mold. And make it exciting for me. I'm still jaded by just the fact that Ubisoft doesn't give us a lot of specific things. Again, you know, I not to harp on it, but we got Vikings and Spartans before we got ninjas and an assassin franchise.
Yeah, no, it's
What?
true.
Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And I feel like there's an over reliance on them returning to the Middle East as a setting. I think they always make beautiful games in those settings. I love a lot of them, but there's so much more to the world to discover. You know,
Yeah,
of course, anyone's gonna automatically jump to ninja whenever they think of like an assassin from the east, and we should see it by now. We
yeah,
should get some more games set in the Americas, personally, and especially a lot more of other locations in the East. I just don't
yeah.
think that. I don't know why they're not interested in going there. I don't know why they don't see that potential. Ubisoft reminds me a lot of Nintendo in the sense that they have fan base. They have a fan base that they don't like to listen to. That they do. We will give them money. Like
Right.
my card's right here. I will fill out the details on the pre-order right now. All they need to do is do it, bro. Like all they need to do is give me Ninja.
Yeah.
Put me in
No,
China. I'll give me Assassin's Creed China.
have we gotten to a point though? Okay, so China would be great. Feudal Japan would be amazing. The British India, the British occupation of India would be fantastic.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Ancient civilization in South and Central America would be incredible.
Yeah.
But with specifically ninjas, have we gotten to a point where now it's too late? Where there's games like Ghost of Tsushima, which it's basically Assassin's Creed set in feudal Japan. Are we at a point where like Ubisoft is screwed? Because even if they make a game surrounding like samurai, for example, they're not going to be able to hit the quality of Sucker Punch and Ghost of Tsushima. Do you think that's partly the reason?
Well, it just Assassin's Creed doesn't feel like a labor of love anymore. You know,
Right.
Ghost of
Right.
it's fitting that you bring up Ghost of Tsushima because it is in some regards an Assassin's Creed game set
Yep.
in Japan. But at the same time, it's like Ghost of Tsushima is a labor of love. You know, you feel Ghost of Tsushima if you play it. Like to those, if anyone out there hasn't played Ghost of Tsushima, please run out there and play it. It's an absolutely astounding experience.
It's on
But
PS Plus extra, by
it
the way.
is. It is on
Mhm.
PS Plus Extra. But yeah, no, it feels like a labor of love. It feels like something they put their hearts into. Even down to the black and white mode. Down to the black and white
Oh
mode.
yeah.
Just the graphics all together. It feels one of a kind.
Hmm.
Where Assassin's Creed now, especially if we're discussing like Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed feels a dime a dozen.
Yeah. And I feel like no matter what they do, even with Mirage, it's still gonna have that manufactured feel. It's not gonna feel like brand new. It's not gonna feel fresh. At this point, I don't think there's anything you can do with Assassin's Creed, except maybe instead of making it a bi-yearly thing, which is what they're starting to do again, which makes me pretty happy. Make it like just reboot the whole thing. Like in 5 years, we're not gonna be making an Assassin's Creed game, but when we come back, oh boy, you better wait. I think I think at this point that's the only thing that can happen to recapture that feeling. But it's not gonna happen. It's not.
A reboot? No, God no. They, well, no, because with Infinite kind of like screams that they're not going to reboot the franchise.
Yep.
Assassin's Creed is going to be Assassin's Creed through and through.
Could you could you imagine if they announce a new game and they call it Assassin's Creed Prince of Persia and then they spin it off and like they start making Prince of Persia games again?
I
Because
would
that's essentially what Assassin's Creed was. It was supposed to be. I'm pretty sure it was Prince of Persia Assassins. It'd be funny if they
I
if they
would
flipped it the
scream.
other way over.
I would scream out of just pure anger. Just give me Prince of Persia. I don't need Prince of
Yeah.
Persia with all the other Flash. Like, just give me Prince of Persia and Sands of Time. Give me that. Give me
Mm.
the remake on that. We were supposed to be getting a Prince of Persia by now, and I forgot what happened to it.
It was bad.
I
It
gotta look
looked
into it.
terrible.
I gotta look into it because
So what happened is that it was being blasted because the graphics looked like crap. Not my opinion. I thought it looked okay, but I care more about the content the game feels. But the internet was blasting it around the like. It was around the same time that they were starting to blast Sonic with the way that Sonic looked in the movie. So they completely delayed the game. And ever since they delayed it, we haven't really heard much about it except that it's still in development.
well, it was a remake, right?
Yeah, it was a remake of Sands of Time.
Well, yeah, no, I want a new.
Hmm.
Like, I want a new. Assassin Prince of Persia was just dope in this. Like, I love how the later games, just went like weird and dark and edgy.
Yeah.
It was so
Oh
out of the
yeah.
blue and so random. Like, it went from a game I could ask for Christmas to a game I couldn't overnight. That M
Prince
rating
of
was
Persia,
hard.
dude. No, it was, and I think it's one of those franchises that got better the more games came out. It's it it sucks that it's at a point where it's no longer even like really being talked about. Same thing, honestly. Same thing with Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell, same exact thing. Ubisoft has all these amazing franchises that they have at their disposal, and they're not doing anything except making mobile games where you have Sam Fisher, and then you can play as the Prince of Persia. Like, what is going on, bro?
You gotta wonder what that is. You know, it's not like these aren't franchises that wouldn't sell. You know, these are franchises that people openly have been asking for a very, very, very long time. Especially, especially when you talk about Splinter Cell.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about Splinter Cell when you're talking about a whole separate game like Prince of Persia. Like,
Yeah.
it will always be brought up in the strangest of conversations. But let's make another Just Dance. So,
Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me
let,
spit out my drink,
let's make
Eve.
another Rabbids, dude. Hell yeah, some more Rabbids games. We need more of
Yeah.
those.
And don't forget the Rabbids TV show too.
There's a Rabbids TV show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft is so weird, man. Ubisoft is so freaking weird. I can't even think off the top of my head other Ubisoft games. Hold on, I'm just curious.
So we got Ghost Recon. We have that
Yeah,
really cool so what was it called? Was it Steep? That snowboarding game. And then there
yeah,
was that really cool one, Riders Republic. I thought that was actually very cool. We have Rayman, that's where rabbits come from.
yep.
Rayman's still some of the best games, and like the most recent ones that they put out, which is like almost a decade ago now, Rayman Legends. Uh,
I
some of
remember
the
Rayman
best
Legends.
2D games you'll ever play.
Ooh,
Um,
Watch Dogs. I always forget about Watch Dogs.
I think so did Ubisoft.
I mean, that last one was weird.
I don't know if I disliked it though.
I I, I disliked it fundamentally. Like,
How so?
the idea of just being able to jump around and play as different characters as your main character, just that's just not how storytelling works. You know, GTA 5 made it work because all three of those, it was just three, and they all
Yeah.
had their own distinct, characteristics, their own abilities, and their own story that was being told. And with Legion, it was just like, hey, you can literally play as anybody in the game, but they're not going to have a real special story, and they may have like a special ability or something like that. But the gimmick here is just that you can play as anybody.
Yeah. Uh, you know, the gimmick was really, really cool. And I
Yeah,
remember speaking with Azu when it first came out, and she was going out of her way to find this master spy. And it ended up, I think she was playing the permadeath mode, which I think was a really cool addition. I think her master spy got killed, and she started like raging, and then she tried to find another master spy to replace that character. Um,
Mr. Wagwan.
Mr. Wow.
Because he would drop
Okay.
kick you and go Wagwan, which
So, like, I think the gimmick was really cool, and I think it would have been better served as part of their multiplayer mode while still having a central character for the very first one.
Yeah.
or for the story. And it's a shame though, because Watch Dogs 2 is one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. I dug the entire vibe, the whole Silicon Valley aspect of it. It brought that franchise back to life after the first Watch Dogs.
Yeah, people love it, man. People absolutely love it. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe one day we'll get a Watch Dogs Just Dance. You know, something along the lines of that. Just dogs, or dog dance. Something like that. You know, that
Watch
seems
Dance.
more like what Ubisoft is trying to do right now.
It's Watch Dance, and this time you don't actually dance. You just have to watch other people
You just
dance.
watch. You just
You just
watch.
watch.
I think I can get behind that.
It's
I
called
definitely think I can get
Dancing
behind
with
that.
I mean, you know for a fact it'd be having like Dancing with the Stars DLC and stuff like that.
Oh my god, it'd be amazing. Actually, it's really just AGT. It's
Oh
really just
my.
America's Got Talent, the video game, and you just judge people.
You're telling me I can role play as Howard Stern? Come on.
Yeah. Was Howard Stern an America's Got Talent judge?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
Was
so
he?
that was just a bad joke for you then.
Yeah, dude. Okay, listen, I'm back in prime form. Okay,
That was just a really
after.
bad joke for you. Okay, cool. So that's fine. That's
All
fine. Do
right.
what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
So, so as I try to haphazardly and clumsily segue
Uh huh.
from that terrible joke, have
Try
you
your best.
heard about have you heard about Rumbleverse?
No,
No.
that's the like the wrestler battle royale, right?
Yeah, and it's getting a lot of hype, like more so than I expected.
I,
Out of nowhere, like we're talking about like people in the press and just like some of the top influencers just talking about this game all the time.
yeah. Okay, so can we does it before I say what I'm gonna say, does it like come across as a fighting game as well? I guess you'd call it a fighting game because it's a fighting battle royale. It's not a shooter, so technically, right?
Right.
I've
I
not
think so.
I've not been excited by any fighting game, and I I think personally, I'm gonna say this. I think I might piss somebody off, or I might piss somebody off, and or actually no, I might say something that's gonna somebody else is gonna say is gonna quote me to piss somebody off on, and I'm okay with that because I tend to be the devil's advocate on the show anyway. I think multiverses is extremely overrated. I think we've kind of missed the conversation on multiverses. And I know you brought up Rumbleverse, but I'm gonna like kind of tie it all together. Um, I think I've played it and I've had my matches. I've had like a series of wins on the game. So this is definitely not coming from like a lost place. But I just think the game is so overhyped and so overrated. Like
Bro,
especially in comparison to what it's supposed to, be the better of. It's supposed to it's direct competition for Smash. And I'm sorry. It does not stack up. It doesn't feel different enough for me. It feels a little bit slower, and I think it's a great game. I think it's a really good game. But I do not think it deserves all the hype that it's been getting. Like people just all
it's
every time I talk to somebody, they're like, "You want to play multiverses?" And I'm like, "Not really."
it's
Like,
free though. It's free. It's crossplay and multi-platform.
so
So
is
in that
Fortnite.
case, I mean, yeah, but Fortnite's not competing with Smash Bros.
Yeah, it's Fortnite's competing against a bunch of other stuff, but I mean, like that just because it's so you think all those things are what makes it a viable competitor?
You said it yourself. The game is good. You're saying that it's overhyped, and I'm telling you, the hype comes from the fact that it's free, multi-platform, and crossplay, and it has some of people's favorite video game, or sorry, favorite characters across any medium. So even casual players who don't really even play video games can get into it and have a character that they like. Even people that don't like TV shows and movies, they have freaking LeBron James that they can use to pummel other players with. So I don't know. I feel like it has the appropriate level of hype. I've gotten a couple people like Sage himself asking when we are going to be playing Multiverses live.
Never.
Um, never. No, it's going to be very soon. I promise. I promise YouTube. I promise the Goblin Gang. It's going to be very soon. Whether OG Goblin himself is going to be there or not to lose.
Probably won't be there. I'll probably lose. I'll probably lose. I can own up to that. I don't know if it deserves all of its hype. Like no shade towards the developers, the publishers, or any of that. Like I just don't know if it deserves the hype, man.
This is coming from the guy like who I told, "Hey, Multiverses looks and then you played the beta, and you're like, "Actually, Multiverses is pretty good." And
It
then now all of a
is.
sudden you're doing a huge 180.
I'm not doing 180. I stick by what I said. It's good. It's a very well made game. I think in comparison to Smash, honestly, I don't think the Smash comparison is really fair because there's a lot that's different there, especially from like fundamentals. There's obviously a lot that's the same, but there's a lot that's different as well. But yeah, it's a good game. It's made well. Do I think it's overhyped? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like the opposite of like Cyberpunk. Was it overhyped? Yes. Does it deserve to be? Absolutely not. Still a great game in my opinion, but like it doesn't deserve the hype that it didn't end up deserving the hype that it got. I just think Multiverses is I think it's a bubble. Honestly. I really do think it's a bubble. I remember, and obviously the game didn't turn out to be as good, but I remember there being a lot of hype around the
Nah,
Nickelodeon All Stars game.
nah.
There
There
was a
wasn't
lot of hype
any.
around it.
There was, but
Everybody
it
was like,
wasn't.
"Oh my god, I get to be Cat Dog. Oh my god, Tommy Pickles. I get to be SpongeBob." Like there was hype, bro. There was hype. Honestly, I don't even remember there being that much hype around multiverses until like the roster started leaking.
So yes, there was hype around that Nickelodeon fighting game,
Yes, there
but
was.
nowhere near the hype that we've seen for Multiverse.
I don't
And
know.
fun fact, Jimmy Neutron's dad is actually about to become a playable character in the Nick fighting game. It's still alive. It's still getting new
See,
content.
and we're talking
But
about it. Like you even know about it. Like,
still though, like let's put a pin real quick on Cyberpunk 2077. I want to revisit that. But
ooh,
going back to multiverses, I don't know, man. Listen, like I said, it has people's favorite characters. It is a good quality game. It doesn't have egregious microtransactions. So
yep.
it's fairly monetized and it has multi-platform and it's a small download size and it's cross-play. Like, of course it's gonna get the hype. Whether you agree with the hype or not, I think it's appropriately hyped because people enjoy the game. It'd be different if the game was complete booty. If it sucked, if the gameplay sucked, if it had terrible servers and internet connection, which is one thing that it does much better than Smash, by the way. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
think all those things are things to keep in mind when talking about multiverses.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I'm not like gonna. I'm not. I didn't say all this to bash multiverses. I think it's such an intriguing. I think it's such an intriguing situation, especially considering its presence currently in the esports field. Just as as far as a competitive game, it ramped up very quickly. It came out of
Yeah.
beta with and like just started swinging, and I super respect that. I super duper respect that. Just came out of beta, started swinging. It had a presence at Evo. It had a really high prize pool, and that's not just the game. That's not just the game at all. That's the developer and the publisher deciding to put money behind it and say like, hey, we want to be able to compete. We want to be able to make this relevant, and they did that. So kudos to them. A
Yep.
brand new game, barely what 2 months old, and it's sitting at Evo up there with Tekken and Street Fighter. As prominent, maybe not, but it's there.
Yep.
That's nothing to scoff at. So shout out to them. Will I be playing it a lot? Probably not. I do still think it needs some balancing issues. Spend 5 minutes on like looking at multiverses videos on TikTok, and you'll see the spam. You'll see the ridiculousness of some characters. LeBron locks you against the wall with his basketball. Freaking Iron Giant can just squat kill you over and over again. Superman can literally just throw you up in the air, grab you, and toss you, and just repeat that. I think there's a lot that still needs to be fixed there. The game's in its infancy, so shout out to them. I do think it's overhyped
I
for
don't
what
think
it
it's a
is.
bubble though. I don't think it's a bubble. I think that
Oh, it's
it's
a
going to
bubble.
remain being popular. I think as they start adding more and more characters, I feel like it's not even going to be contained to the Warner Brothers verse. Um, I think it's going to be the fighting game equivalent of Fortnite. and I think it's going to have a lot of long legs. And we'll be talking about it like years from now when 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 the Goblin Gang Entertainment, when Geeks and Goblins is presenting Multiverses 5.0 and all that. But
Oh
I don't know.
shoot.
I digress.
High hopes, high dreams. All I'm gonna say is what's happening over there at Warner Brothers Discovery right now. We'll be lucky if Multiverses sees a season 2. Okay, they're hitting everything at the chopping block, and we can talk about that later. You look like you want to talk about something.
I think they sold. I'm pretty sure that the people who own the movie studios and the rights to all that, they sold the video game division, did they not?
I'm not sure if they did, but if WB has any say about what's going to be tossed in, like, just
Yeah.
uh, what you brought up something about Cyberpunk. Let's talk about that before before I like lay into WB Discovery because we talked about them, uh, it wasn't looking as dystopian as it is right now.
So Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be having a stream next week talking about what's next for the game and what's also coming with the Edge Runner Netflix show that will be debuting on this month actually.
Yeah, I'm just not seeing that myself. Uh, I want to care, but I'm my fear for Cyberpunk is we're never going to. So, to my understanding, I think we're only going to be getting one piece of DLC for the game.
Yep.
Um, Besides that, I think that's going to be all we get from the franchise, and that sucks for me. Uh, I, I haven't beaten the game yet. I'm not going to sit here and like lie about it or like pretend that I have. I've played through it. I've gotten I don't even want to say like a decent bit in, but I have experienced the game, and a lot of what I have experienced with Cyberpunk, I love. I
Yep.
love so much. I'm basing one of my future purchases right now, honestly, off of my love for Cyberpunk. That's weird for a game that's was essentially dead on arrival and is still very much dead, but there's so much potential there. I every time I load into Cyberpunk and I play it for like 5 minutes, I see what they were trying to do. I see it.
I don't know. It's dead, man. It's still like one of the best-selling games of all time. Maybe it did lose that reputation at launch, but I feel like everything they've done since then has been pretty decent. The 1.5 update brought a
Yeah.
lot of people back into the game, and you say one piece of DLC like it's very minimal, but CD Projekt Red is known for massive expansions that can be games on their own.
Yeah.
And then we still have confirmation that the multiplayer is still actively worked on. So all we know is that only one expansion has been announced and confirmed, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will be the only. And now, especially with this Netflix show coming out, I don't think we've seen the last of Cyberpunk 2077. I really, really don't.
I hope we haven't. Like, trust me. Uh, this is definitely a conversation of a hopeful person who's hoping that that all the signs are pointing to not true. I am going to disagree with you on the dead game part. There
Okay.
is there's a very like dedicated group of people that love Cyberpunk and are very vocal
Right.
about Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk unfortunately just could not get past its flaws for a lot of people. I know people to this day who bought copies of the game, returned their copy because of everything that they heard was going on, and just refused to return to it just based off of what had happened. They could have fixed everything. This game could be full AAA quality, completely fixed, zero bugs, and they just don't want to return to it for whatever reason. Some people feel jaded by the experience. Some people legitimately did not enjoy what they experienced, which is fine.
Yeah.
No one's
Right.
gonna knock that. But
Right.
in a lot of spheres in gaming, Cyberpunk is definitely a black sheep and is a cautionary tale for a lot of people about, one, don't trust marketing.
Right.
Two, don't pre-order games because, mind you,
Right.
a lot of Cyberpunk's sales were because their pre-orders were so high. Their
Yeah.
marketing was just so aggressive and so successful. It should be a case study, honestly. But like a lot of their sales are responsible for that, and good for them. But I will go as far as to say that I do think right now it's a dead game. I'm not entirely sure that this little meeting that they're gonna have is gonna be big enough to make waves.
I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. But like I said, they are known for legendary expansions.
Yeah,
Like like Blood and Wine for The Witcher 3 sometimes gets talked about more than the base game of The Witcher 3. To a lesser extent, Hearts of Stone as well. But I feel like depending on what they do with this expansion, um, it it can it can still capture a lot of attention. Going back to people who were jaded, I feel like Cyberpunk was so ridiculously overhyped that it started becoming kind of like a zeitgeist, and a lot of people got interested in the game without even really knowing what it was,
yeah,
just hearing a bunch of talk about it, a bunch of word of mouth.
yeah.
And then when they played the game, they're like, "Oh, this is not what I expected," so they returned it. That's I wouldn't say that's the majority of people, but I do know a good portion of people were like that. I mean, is that really a knock at the game though, or is that more so a knock on people not doing or like pre-ordering without waiting to see what the game's actually like? I don't know. I digress.
Oh no,
But
I think you're onto something there. Like, I think you I think you kind of scooted over a little bit. I think that's kind of fault at the marketing. You
I
know?
feel like a big part of it is the marketing.
Yeah,
But I feel like probably more so than the marketing, it was the gaming industry, the journalists, the people who would be playing it on E3, and then they would be coming out and saying, "Oh, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. This is going to be revolutionary. It's going to change the video game, like the video game landscape." Part of it is marketing, but I feel like the flip side of it is journalism. And it's just sensationalist headlines to get people excited and to click into views, and like IGN being like, "Oh, we have a whole section of our website dedicated to Cyberpunk. Come see everything about it." I, I think it was a perfect storm for the disaster that we got. But thankfully they kind of did recover from it, at least quality wise.
so I gotta say, I think that's a little unfair. To
Okay.
journalists. God, I never thought I'd defend them, but like I think that's a little unfair to journalists. Cyberpunk's history, as far as so the outreach of Cyberpunk from a large commercial standpoint really came from the gameplay presentation, the very
Yep.
notorious gameplay presentation that was like 15-20 minutes long. A lot of it stems from that. That was the first real view that we got from Cyberpunk. And of course, now with time we've learned that that presentation was largely in part smoke and mirrors.
Oh,
um
absolutely.
of course, that section of the game you can definitely play through, the characters are there, but as far as the presentation goes, the third person cutscenes, a lot of the in-game HUD, a lot of the mechanics, so much of that is missing. Uh,
Yep.
but that was also what was presented to, journalists. That is what they were given. I do feel like I do feel like they were done a little bit dirty. What kind of pulled them out of the mud a little bit was the closer we got to release, the more the colors of Cyberpunk really started to show itself. We
Yeah.
didn't hear about the bugs too much. And I think that's what was interesting to me. I want to know what build they were playing, but we didn't hear really about the bugs in those later reviews just before release. But we did hear a lot about how Cyberpunk may not live up to expectation. A lot of people are expecting a first person shooter based off of what we got in the trailer. A lot of people weren't expecting such heavy RPG mechanics. I don't know why. That definitely came out way before that, but for whatever reason, a lot of people weren't expecting heavy RPG mechanics. Then you introduce, Keanu Reeves, and you get that whole gear turning in itself. Oh, we got John Wick, we've
Yeah.
got Neo in the game. There's a lot there, and I think the aesthetic of Cyberpunk lended itself to attracting a general audience. It
Yeah.
looked
Going back,
cool.
you're completely right. The whole sci-fi aesthetic and just the entire like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Going back to the whole like people not knowing that it's an RPG, I think a lot of it came from that zeitgeist. It came from the people who didn't even know what it was. They were just expecting the new GTA or like a new GTA type of game when it clearly wasn't ever going to. that.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. You bring up a good point. I think you're right. I am being a little harsh on the journalists, and I feel like I am diverting some of the blame from CD Projekt Red. When it's clear as day they screwed up. They've admitted to doing that. They've messed up their pristine reputation after the Witcher series, and now they're gonna have to recover for it. I feel like people aren't gonna be trusting the Witcher, whatever it's called. They're gonna be waiting and seeing on that. People are going to be
Skeptical.
skeptical of any announcements they make Cyberpunk related next week, Thursday. They did it to themselves, to be absolutely clear. But I feel like there's a bunch of other reasons why people walked away pissed off that were sometimes self-inflicted, and I think that's important to acknowledge. And I think we've both done.
Oh no, I agree. Like I said, honestly, I'm gonna call him out here. I think Sage is one of those people. He just refuses to pick the game back up again, and I'm just like, why? Like, I do think that they've done enough to redeem themselves. I really do think they've done enough to redeem themselves. Having played the latest build, it feels tighter. It feels like a more complete experience. And again, I'm gonna stick by this. For what was there, for what is there, pardon, for what is there, it is an amazing game. The
100%.
story is so good. The voice acting is stellar. They pulled off so many amazing things. The world is full and gorgeous. It is a well constructed game. Well, let me flip that. It is a well made game. Was it constructed well? Probably not. The foundation is definitely a little shaky, but like, it is an altogether great experience. And I really hate that people kind of have blocked themselves out from playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Cyberpunk 2077 to this day is one of my favorite games I've ever played. And I still think that in many regards it was revolutionary. Some of the interactions you're getting with the characters, like, it feels next gen, or I guess not next gen. It feels current gen. In ways that a lot of other games don't feel like. It's crazy. Like you said, the writing, the world building, just even the combat to a certain extent, especially when you start getting into like late game, you have all these different abilities like the mantis blades and all that.
Yeah,
amazing. But yeah, I feel like no matter what, no matter if the game came out and like this is not actually real, but if it was objectively a 10 out of 10 game, I think it still wouldn't have met the hype and the expectations that were all around it.
oh no, no, it was, there was too much. There was way too much for it to do it. You did say something interesting though that I wanted to kind of touch on. You, you said it felt next gen, and I couldn't agree with you more. But I'm curious as to what that means, because when you said that, it sparked a memory inside of me. My first, specifically, we're going to be talking about the PS3 here.
Okay.
The, Assassin's Creed 1 felt next gen for me. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I had played on PlayStation 3s before I got it. My first PS3 game was Assassin's Creed. I had the PS3 Fat. I got it for Christmas. But I had played it. I had played PlayStation 3 games before then, but none of it ever felt like super special. I think that's such an important thing that is never really discussed. You know, we get into these generations of game consoles all the time, and honestly, I never really feel like anything's a step forward. The Switch, for example, for me, nothing on the Switch feels like overtly unique, if that makes sense.
It's definitely more evolutionary than revolutionary.
Yeah, and of course, I think with Nintendo, a lot of that uniqueness comes from from the hardware, less the software. Of course, you know, there's a lot of revolutionary games on there. Breath of the Wild being, you know, probably the number one. So I mean, obviously, but I've never felt that next gen vibe from anything on the latest Nintendo consoles. And even sitting now, I'm thinking of the PS5, and you know, I can't think of anything that feels definitively next gen on the PS5 that I've played. I know a lot of people have said the Dark Souls remake. It feels special for them. Like, but I don't know if that's Dark Souls or if that's the remake. But what I can say, just in that conversation of like what feels next gen, I've never felt that with an Xbox game, but PlayStation continuously puts out games that make me feel like I'm playing on the next thing. Like Spider-Man is the perfect example. That game
Yep.
feels like a next gen experience.
Yep. 100%. I feel like that's how I felt on the PS4 with like Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 and also The Last of Us Part 2. Both of those animation wise and just like narratively and the way that the entire game presented itself felt like something we've never seen before in video games. And to your point, Assassin's Creed 1, it introduced this level of openness and verticality that we've never gotten
Yeah.
to that point, or at least not as mainstream as that game made it. With Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk 2077, while Witcher 3 is arguably a better quality game, Cyberpunk makes Witcher feel like a tech demo in terms of like the interactions between the NPCs, between the character and the NPCs, between the way that the narrative unfolds in front of you. It feels like it took a lot of those lessons and it amped it all the way up. The only other experience, keyword experience, that has felt next gen to me in this generation is another experience that also has Keanu Reeves. It's The Matrix Awakens
Oh,
on the
that's not
Unreal Engine
fair.
5.
That's not fair at all. It's
Yeah, no.
designed for that. It is literally they designed it to say like this is what we can do now. Like,
Yeah,
but I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's true. It's not fair. It's not fair to me at all to say that. But I mean, for all we know, in the next year or two, when Unreal Engine 5 games start to come out, that's what gaming's gonna look like for in one shape or form. You know?
yeah, no, that and that's kind of what I feel like that's what it should be. But I mean, not everything's gonna come out to that quality.
Mhm.
You got me thinking so hard on Cyberpunk now, like especially what you said about like how it makes Witcher 3 feel like a tech demo. Um, I think Cyberpunk is hands down probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, if not the most beautiful game I've ever played. And I say that in a generation of Breath of the Wild and Ghost of Tsushima, two games that I think are
Ooh,
breathtaking.
easily.
Absolutely breathtaking. But when you really look at Cyberpunk from a just trying to appreciate it standpoint, like I'm gonna use a really odd example for anyone who knows the game, the Maelstrom gang. They're the guys that are like super in love with tech. They've got a super tech out their bodies. Like the character models on the Maelstrom gang are obviously really grotesque, but just from a design standpoint and the way it all works in the game and the way they all move, it's so beautiful. It's what makes me appreciate the art form of
Yeah.
creating video games. It's that kind of stuff. That team deserves way more credit than they're due. Not to continue to harp on Cyberpunk, but I've been my mind has been on it for days now, and I have not had the chance to actually turn it on, and it's really distressing for me. So I will be playing it in my spare time in these next couple of days.
If the multiplayer ever comes out, OG Goblin, I would love to play that with you on stream. I feel like that'd be amazing. I
Gotta
don't
happen.
think Cyberpunk is ever gonna get the respect that it probably deserves, or it maybe deserves right now. Mainly because of how you were saying. Just that initial launch just killed people's hype for it. Um, and to your credit, people don't really talk about it anymore. People still talk about The Witcher, with not a lot of people outside of the like hardcore video game circle talk about.
Yeah.
But you know what game I think is also suffering from a terrible launch and still like tripping on their own freaking feet every single month. It feels like
What? What's that?
Halo Infinite.
Uh.
Halo Infinite has announced that Forge and campaign co-op have been delayed once more, and they also mentioned. I'm laughing, and I'll tell you why. They also mentioned that they've canceled split screen co-op, and I'll tell you why. I remember when Halo 5 Guardians came out. and it was the very first Halo game that came out that didn't have split screen co-op. And then everyone was blasting 343 for that, and they were like, "Oh, it was a very it was a very painful lesson for us to learn. It really hurt to see how we let everybody down. We promise, we absolutely promise that the next game will have split screen co-op." And here we are, with that being canceled.
I think I remember around the Halo Infinite launch when I said this game is gonna die. like, I think I said something along those lines. Um, I always thought Halo Infinite's success was a little premature on 343 at Microsoft's end. The Halo Championship Series being what it was, the esports, I don't think they made it for us. I'm gonna, with the hindsight now, I'm just gonna say that I don't think they made Halo with the intent of it being for the consumer. I think what they want to be able to capitalize on is the esports side of it, because before the game came out, we knew the entire esports schedule. I
Yep.
remember at my old job, we were preparing for it because it was like, all right, we know when the games are going to happen. We know what people are looking forward to. Like, it, come on. They designed this game so that they could capitalize on the esports sphere, and that was it. I don't think they really care about the consumer. They don't want to give us any of the things that they promised us. Am I hurt by the lack of split screen? No, I think y'all are being a little weird about that. But I do think their timeline on everything else has been a little disrespectful.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, split screen co-op for various reasons is dead. Mainly because of a technical reason. Technical reasons like they're trying to focus on fidelity and frame rate and all this. It's probably never going to come back to the point that it was in the
No,
past. It's just the gall of like coming out publicly and being like, "Oh, we've learned the lessons. We promise it's gonna be there," and then they just like slap us in the face and show that they're not capable of being trusted.
look,
Um,
that's
and
y'all's fault for trusting companies.
oh, 100%, especially a billion-dollar corporation like Microsoft. But this is where I also want to transition a little bit into Activision Blizzard. I want to say that at this point, it's crucial for Microsoft to make sure that the Activision Blizzard deal goes through, if not only for the fact that they can get one of those first-person shooter studios to take over for Halo in the future. I feel like, no disrespect to any of the developers at 343 Industries. I don't know whose fault it is. Has to be someone in the higher up, one of the executives in the publishing division. But 343 Studios has effectively killed Halo. And it's a sad thing to see because it wasn't that long ago that Halo was coming out. Everyone was talking about it for months, for years. People still talk about Halo Reach. That's how powerful that was back when Bungie was in charge. The, get 343 Studios out of there and get like some of the talented developers from there to like merge with like Sledgehammer Games, who's used to making Call of Duty or something like that. And just like revitalize the franchise. Just kill Infinite. Just kill it right now. I know that you're trying to make it into a live service game. Kill it. And then come out with Halo like in a couple years.
Have we maybe ever considered that maybe it's just time for Master Chief to die? Like, I'm sorry. It's just been around for so long, you know? I think we're beating a little bit of a dead horse here. I I feel like every developer in every like major console wants their Mario.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
feel like that's what they want. Mario is but that's not going to happen. Mario has the longevity and Mario has, you know, the flexibility. Mario can be just Mario. Mario can also play tennis. Mario can play soccer. You can go in so many directions. And I think that's why, as much as I'm not a big Mario fan at all, I think that's why Mario perseveres, right? Because Mario has a blank slate of a personality that can kind of go anywhere. Mario
True.
is just a character for the most part. He is this face that you can put in so many different places and in so many different situations. If they made a like if Nintendo took Mario and turned it into and gave him a pseudo FPS game where obviously he's not running around like killing toads or anything like that, but something cute, something funny, that's comical, something like that, it would make sense because Mario can fit that mold. But I feel, and that's a problem that we have in this day and age. Like we have a lot of franchises that can really only go in one direction unless you're clever. The God of War guys, they were clever.
Oh,
They were
100%.
very clever over there at
Yep.
what's that, Sony Santa Monica, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
They're very
Mhm.
clever. They said, you know what, we can't just keep making, we cannot create another hack and slash God of War game. Nobody's gonna want to play that. Also, we're thinking next gen, right? Like we want to make a next gen experience. We have to be able to step it up.
Oh, dude.
I don't think those guys at Microsoft have that foresight, honestly, and I think they've kind of put themselves in this corner um, where they're not really willing to make their machismo manly man characters these flexible characters. What else is Master Chief gonna do? Like besides
Right.
the same thing that he's been doing. They've even designed him in a way that is just what he knows. That is what he does. The same, in my opinion, can be said for Marcus Phoenix. There's
Yeah.
it's not going anywhere else. These are the games that they're going to have.
But here's the thing, though. Halo Kart, you're telling me that like John 117 could be riding go karts and racing with like the other Spartans? I'm just kidding. I want to go back and say that what they have to do if they want to keep Halo around is a spectacular finale where Master Chief dies. Kill him off and start from somewhere else. Kind of like similar to Star Wars. End the Skywalker saga and give us something new. I think that's what Halo needs. I don't know. I feel like if they go more boots on the ground with Halo and do things that we've never seen before, that would capture a lot of people's attentions and it would bring that franchise back. But I think to a little bit of what you're saying, they've already milked as much as they can out of the John 117.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I brought this up before, but it's just kind of like that meme where if Microsoft made their own version of PlayStation All Stars or Super Smash Brothers, it would literally just be 1,200 different recolors of Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix and maybe like a Porsche from Forza. That would be it. That's really just more of a stab at Microsoft than anything. I feel bad for the 343 team. They had to pick up where Bungie left off, and that's something no one should ever have to do. I wouldn't do that to if Mario got sold off to frickin' Naughty Dog, and they had to pick up from where Nintendo left off. Like that's just no one should have to do that. With that said, I'm never one to actively hate on developers. They took what they had. They made
Yeah.
games that I always thought were beautiful. Did I play them? No, but they put the work in.
Yep.
So shout out to those teams because they're working with what they've got, and
100%.
hopefully they'll get their hopefully they get the leash taken off one day, and we can see something else from 343. Maybe that team will be able to make what they want to make. You know,
Their own
but
IP. Let them have their own IP.
yeah, like, and
Yeah.
this is going to segue because I do want to get into kind of more the goblin-y territory, I guess you could say. But I think I think whenever a studio or a developer gets the opportunity to make what they want to make or turn what they have into the vision that they want it to be, I think that always works. And I
Yeah.
segue that to talk into just a little bit of the comic book territory, a little bit of comic book movie, comic book world, because I brought up WB Discovery earlier. For anyone who doesn't know, Discovery purchased Warner Brothers earlier this year, a move that I don't remember hearing anything about. It kind of came out of left field for me. It might have been on my it might have been on my radar, but it completely blacked out. But point being is they bought them,
Yep.
and they have been cleaning house over there. And at first, it seemed like a kind of positive experience. All right, some new blood. We're gonna redo the DCU. We're gonna find a new place. They were talking a whole lot of that good talk, like we're gonna find our own Kevin Feige. We're gonna get the DCEU in line. We're gonna make some bangers. But then the first of the bad omens, they canceled the Batgirl movie.
Hmm.
That struck a chord with a lot of people. A
Hmm.
whole lot of people. Female lead, obviously it's Batgirl, but female lead, Latina female lead at that. Of course, there is that side of the fan base that's just kind of like, she's white, who cares? But to cancel that hurt spurned a lot of people, especially considering right now we're going through the Ezra Miller
Mm.
Flash situation where Ezra Miller is acting as our own personal real life supervillain. A lot of people ask the question, why have we not canceled this obviously troubled movie that has this very troubled star, but we canceled the Batgirl Hispanic woman led uh, HBO Max movie? And I gotta be honest with you, I have thoughts. I'm gonna let you say what you think about any of that before I lay on my thoughts, though.
I'm strapped in. I'm just ready. I'm ready for the OG Goblin takes. Just lay it on us, bro.
So here's my thing. All signs point to a couple of things. First off, we're
Okay.
hearing that Batgirl, as far as those private screenings go, it scored the same as Black Adam, and it scored the same as Shazam. That's not a terrible thing. It's not a great thing, but they scored the same. We the argument was that people didn't like it. So that's why we canceled. That's one of the reasons why we canceled it. That's a crap reason because you didn't cancel the other ones. Also, this is the only one that I get behind, right? So in their little earnings call or their little meeting that they had, their new CEO, pardon, detailed that anything that they do going forward, as far as the DCEU, anything that they do going forward right now, it has to feel big. It has to feel like a superhero movie. And,
Mhm.
I guess in the grand scheme of like the world we're living in right now, with like Marvel, everything feels gigantic. I guess I can understand that in relation to what they were saying about Batgirl. People are saying that Batgirl felt like an extended TV trailer.
Wait, but real quick,
Yeah,
like Moon Knight, freaking Miss Marvel, they felt very like small scale, and that actually benefited those shows amazingly. Not everything has to be massive, but go ahead,
I
go
agree
back
with
back
you.
to you.
I completely agree with you. For Marvel, right? Like
Mhm.
Marvel has taken that time to build that up. Where now Marvel
Right,
can make
right.
I Am Groot. Like they can make I Am Groot, and some of us aren't gonna like it, but they can do that, and it makes sense. Um, do I think Batgirl should have been canceled? Absolutely not. Especially if they went about it. Let me put that on the table right now. But from a money mindset, I can understand if you're telling me that this movie that you poured, I think it was $90 million into, feels like a CW TV pilot. Like, I guess I can kind of get that in relation to the whole like, oh, we want it to be this big. We want our DC movies to feel big. We want them to feel like spectacles. I guess I can understand that, especially when we're talking about this movie was going to HBO Max.
Yeah,
In order for it to make that kind of money back, it would have to entice people to subscribe. That's
yeah,
kind of like the failures of having movies premiere on streaming services. Unless people are coming in specifically for that and they're subscribing, you don't really get a ROI, return of investment. You put it out there, people watch it, you see how well it does, and you go through your award stuff. If it goes that way, you see what people think about it, and then you move on. But $90 million is a lot to pour into something that you may not get a return of investment on. So I get that, but I think they made the wrong choice. Like,
yeah.
I think they made the wrong choice. It just also looks bad. It looks bad. If they canceled the entire slate, everyone would be like, "Hold on, that's wild." No Black Adam, no Shazam, no Flash. That'd have been one thing, but they just chose Batgirl.
Yeah.
For
Well,
at least what it seems right now. They apparently canceled the new Batman animated show that was going to be coming out.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was promising. We're apparently still not sure if Blue Beetle has been canceled or not. The main actor whose name I am not even going to attempt here. Uh, the main actor has talked about it recently. But like it was just the wrong choice when we have Ezra Miller running around being a bad guy.
Oh man, you know how many incels Warner Brothers Discovery made happy when they canceled just Batgirl?
Oh,
All of them. Every single person that was review bombing She-Hulk is now going to be paying for like 5 subscriptions to this new HBO Max Plus or whatever they're gonna.
and they're idiots. Like, people really need to get over this, this woke DC rhetoric. It's just
Yeah.
it's utterly ridiculous.
We
Like,
talked about it earlier, man. We talked about it earlier. A lot of people don't realize that She-Hulk was already a thing. A lot of people don't realize that Captain America mix is black. They don't. They just think it's some weird pandering that Disney doing. And we also talked about this earlier when we were like hanging out and stuff. If they were pandering, what the hell is the problem? Why is it such a bad thing that this one show is starring someone who's black or starring a woman? Like, what, bro? White males have had their spotlight for over 100 years now. Let someone else have it. It's dumb.
it's the release of power as far as as far as I'm concerned. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see the harm in it. I think I don't know. I don't really know how to elaborate on it. Obviously I don't see the harm in it. I think people undervalue the idea of seeing somebody that's like you on the big screen.
Yeah.
People severely undervalue that. Seeing it took after Black Panther for me to realize how much I appreciated having someone that looked like me as a superhero on the big screen. Honestly, even on my trip to Disney, like I found myself. I'm gonna admit this now because I'm far away from the person that I told I wouldn't cry to, but and I didn't cry. I just teared up a little bit. I'm like a crybaby for representation. I don't know what it is. I'm also a crybaby for like heartfelt moments, and something about fireworks at Disney is like a stupid heartfelt thing for me. Like it just
Yeah.
they build it up to be such a huge thing, but like I say that to say seeing the Princess and the Frog, Tiana up there, and seeing Coco, and seeing stuff from Encanto, and from all these other realms of the world. Like, I don't think Disney's great. You know,
Right.
Disney as a corporation has their problems. No one is. I'm not going to be the person to get on this on to YouTube and defend Disney for being what they are, but I do have to give like credit in that they in whatever way, for whatever it's worth, do try to include everybody.
Yeah,
They
man.
let you feel represented, and that in itself is a beautiful thing because it's something nobody else is doing. So if it's pandering, I don't care. Like, to
Yeah,
be able to
dude.
sit back and know that like I'll have a daughter one day that I can show the Princess to the Frog, and she can look at and say like I can be a princess too because she looks like
Yes,
me.
man.
That's
Yeah.
People don't understand how important that is to be able to have a son that could look at T'Challa one day and say I could be a king or I could be a superhero. That is so important.
I feel like a lot of it is privilege. I don't want to get too much into this conversation, but a lot of it is the privilege of having seen someone that looks like you for your whole freaking life, and now other people have representation, and you feel like something's being taken away from you instead of also being shared with other people. The exploration of other cultures is such a beautiful thing because without it, we are culturally and morally bankrupt. So it is a beautiful thing to be able to see a Pixar movie exploring like Italy and then exploring like Colombia and Mexico. Give me more of that, please. I live in the United States. I was gonna say put up with this culture. I have to put up with this culture, but let me see some other things, man. It's so beautiful, and I want more of it. I don't care if it's pandering. I don't care if it makes a very small minority, a very vocal minority on Twitter, very upset. I love it, and I know so many people personally that also like it. So just keep it going. Yeah, fuck Disney, but good job on that. Good job on that.
No, yes, but no, no. They took too much of my money. I can't say that right now. Hope they give it back. On the same conversation of representation, I have to point this out. You sent this to me, because this is gonna make some waves. if you know me and you've been watching the show, you know that I am not a fan of rumors and speculation. I'm just not. I hate it. I hate it because so much of it is not true. And I need you to understand that I really, really hate this rumor that's going around and where it's spurned from. So, I'm gonna read it and then say where it's from and why I hate it. I'm reliably informed that Marvel Studios have signed epic talent for Phase 5. John Boyega, Henry Cavill, Jodie Comer, Daisy Edgar Jones, John Krasinski, Giancarlo Esposito, and Denzel Washington to be announced by Kevin Feige at D23 Expo 2022. This was leaked out as a rumor yesterday by Emmett Kennedy, to, for what I can tell, for all intents and purposes, is a sports broadcaster. Like, this is an equestrian racing sports broadcaster. So this is my problem with rumors, right? My problem with rumors is they come from the strangest of places. This isn't some guy who was an Imagineer for 5 years at Disney. This isn't from some guy who is the key grip for like a movie studio based in Louisiana. This man watches horses run and comments on it. And and we're expected to believe that this rumor is true because he got a blue check mark. And you know what? I'm here for the rumor. I am so here for this rumor.
100%, bro.
Bro, this rumor is nuts. So I'm not sure if you even like understand the gravity of this rumor, but let me break some things down. Let me break the people on this list down for you really quick and who I think they could potentially be. John Boyega, the man himself, Finn from Star Wars, one of the best young black actors we have in Hollywood right now. John Boyega, who could he be playing? A lot of people think Iron Lad, who is basically Kang the Conqueror, like a young Kang the Conqueror. Moving on. I really don't know who Jodie Comer is. Presumably either her or Daisy Edgar Jones could be in the running for Mrs. Fantastic and the Fantastic Four. It is a strong possibility, but that covers those two. Henry Cavill. This one is so exciting because if Henry Cavill managed to get into the Marvel Universe at all, that would be a huge for the DC Universe. Let me tell you, they would be pissed. We stole Superman. Okay? We stole Superman. And if he is going to be anybody, the big rumors are Captain Britain,
Magneto?
who, you know, who is Captain America, but from Britain. A little bit different. It's more complex than that, but yeah. Who did you say?
Magneto?
No, I'm getting that. Let me work my way there slowly. Let me work my way there slowly. Henry Cavill. Another rumor is Hyperion, who is literally Marvel's Superman. One of Marvel's Supermans, as well as the Sentry is a rumor that's going around, who is also one of Marvel's Supermans. If either one of those were to happen, we literally stole Superman from DC for him to be Superman for us. That would be so disrespectful. Moving on, John Krasinski. If you saw Multiverse of Madness, if you're a part of any part of the Marvel rumor mills, it is likely, if this is true, that he is just going to continue being Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. But now we get into the very big dogs of this conversation. Arguably two of the most, or at least one. I love Giancarlo Esposito, but like, if Denzel Washington were to join the MCU, one of the greatest actors of our time, like, let's get that out of the way. Giancarlo Esposito has come out and said that he's had conversations with Marvel and that he would love to be Professor X.
Ooh.
That is not a rumor. He has said it. That came out of the man's mouth himself. He said this. A lot of people wanted him as Magneto, though. A lot of people were seeing that vibe. Me personally, bro, if this rumor is true, I'm going to tell you what I see right now. I see Giancarlo Esposito as Professor Xavier, and I see Denzel Washington as Magneto.
Oh!
And that's going to piss off a lot of people, but it ain't going to piss off me. I'll get into it later.
I
Your
feel like
thoughts?
Denzel Washington is much more of a protagonist or of like a hero, whereas Giancarlo Esposito, in my opinion, his best roles have been as villains, especially in The Boys. Um, but I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be. I think if this rumor is true, I think it'd be reversed. But no matter who's playing who of those two, like yes, yes, the answer is yes.
So with Giancarlo, it's interesting, right? Because what people don't understand about Professor X, they play out it a little bit in the X-Men movies that we've gotten, but if you read the comics, you know that he's really he's a person with good intentions that's also a douchebag, kind of. He is a
Yeah.
gaslighter. He's got this paramilitary group of teenagers that he sends out to fight. He definitely has a little bit of superiority complex, and I think Giancarlo could play that very well. Magneto is this Shakespearean being in a way, and I think that speaks well to Denzel Washington. But there's also this pain there that I feel like he could play very well. I don't think it's a role you can just hand to anybody, which is why I think Michael Fassbender and Sir Ian McKellen have done such an amazing job with the role, because you have to have this magnetic and gigantic presence when you're in that role. But also, there's this idea, which, I've heard that it's true, I've heard that it isn't true, that Professor X and Magneto are supposed to be stand ins for the idea of Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. Uh, you can see it, especially with what the X-Men are supposed to be, a lot of their stories. You can see it. To my understanding, if I remember correctly from all of my readings over time, it's not true, but you can see it. And bringing the X-Men into, you know, this day and age of the Marvel universe, it wouldn't really make sense for Magneto to be a surviving a Holocaust survivor. He would be pushing 90s into the like
Yeah.
for he'd be old as hell. All right, he'd be old as hell. Do I like? I couldn't formulate the story completely right now, but I can see this idea of two prominent civil rights leaders
Oh yeah.
in the MCU who are also mutants, and one has been so greatly spurned by what happened in that time that he's taken this darker path, and is also a mutant, and now is gravitating more towards superiority of one race than the other, becoming the very thing that he's supposed to hate. And I think, as much as it definitely makes sense for Magneto to have been a Jew that survived, the Holocaust and became, someone who, in a lot of ways, has those negative mentalities that a certain group of people also have. I think that story could translate very well to civil rights, the civil rights movement as well.
I completely agree with you. I feel like it would be it, honestly super powerful in the right setting with the right writers behind it. It would trigger so many people. But like you said, I do not give a crap. That sounds amazing, man. I really hope this rumor is true, and we don't have very long until we find out, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but September D23 is supposed to happen this month, right?
Yes, next week, I believe
Ooh.
it's the 9th through the 11th, so Friday through Sunday.
Ooh, we Geeks and Goblins is back at the right time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was all planned. It was all planned.
It's funny because literally our last Geeks and Goblins episode was, I believe, is when we got it.
Oh, I lost you there a little bit. There you
Do
go.
you hear me now? Okay. So I was saying, I believe that the last episode we had of Geeks and Goblins, literally all the Hall H stuff from SDCC, right?
Yes, that was one of our last. Yes, no, it was Comic-Con. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, we are back. We are back, and I'm super excited to see what we get from D23. Um, I really, really, really want to know more about the Acolyte. But that is for another episode. I want to like kind of start wrapping this up by mentioning something that you had mentioned: X-Men in the MCU. Let's talk about like some of these little tidbits that we're getting from She-Hulk. I haven't watched the newest episode yet. but there's been a lot of interesting cameos.
Mm.
Some of them funny, like America's Ass being made a wallpaper. Uh, but yeah, we also got a newspaper article or little tidbit talking about a man with claws fighting at a bar. Wolverine? Question mark.
Wolverine, Wolverine, Wolverine. Yeah. I mean, Marvel's been like kind of playing with us for a while, tugging at our heartstrings for a bunch of things. We all thought we were getting Mephisto. We didn't. Multiverse of Madness was a completely different movie than a lot of people expected. Um, it it's tough. Like, I want to be able to sit here and be like, they have to be talking about Logan. They have to be talking about my main man James Howlett. They have to be, but I just can't sit here and say that they were definitely talking about him. I just can't.
I just I'm really worried because in my eyes, Logan or the Wolverine will always Hugh Jackman. Always. And I don't know who they can cast to recapture that magic. If not him, it'd be great to have him back in the role, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he's done with the role.
You know, there's a fantastic YouTuber that I just ran across. His name is Nando V Movies. Uh, and he does this kind of like casting series on YouTube. Absolutely go and check him out. He specifically has one. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna post it in chat here. Casting Wolverine for the MCU. He did one for that, and he's made some very compelling arguments, some very interesting young actors that I hadn't even considered for the role. But please go check him out. I think he makes really good content altogether. He has a bunch more than just that. But I think people need to let I think people need to let Hugh Jackman go. It, I think
Oh.
I get it. Don't get me wrong, I get it, and I loved it. But I think there's so much more that they can do with that character, and I think people are just afraid to let that happen. I don't know. I've also posted the link to that video in the chat for anybody who wants to check it out. It's really good. A lot of really dope options. But let Logan go, man. He's supposed to be a 5'4" angry Canadian. Like, let him be that. There's so much more to the X-Men. That was always my problem with him in the X-Men movies. The X the X-Men are the most diverse group of superheroes on the planet. Like, forget the JLA, forget the Avengers. Like, they've got everyone from literally every walk of life. Literally every walk of life. Whatever religion, whatever race, whatever so and so. And there's some characters in there that are just absolutely amazing. Iceman is an Omega level mutant that is capable of causing the next Ice Age if he really tapped into his powers. Storm was once regarded as a goddess in Africa because of her powers and what she went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cyclops, they just played him out to be a pretty boy a-hole. And all right, they did Cyclops pretty good, but there are so many other characters in the X-Men that are more interesting than Wolverine. Not to take away from him, but I think they didn't even tap into a lot of the things that make him interesting. Wolverine is known as the hoe of the MCU. He's been with
Yeah.
Storm. He's been with so many people. He's a hoe. Let him be a
But like
hoe.
here's the thing though, like since the inception of X-Men, no matter what form, no matter what medium, what TV show, movies, or video, Wolverine has been the most popular of X-Men.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I completely agree. I'm just saying that I think that that's unfair.
Fair.
I,
I
I
think that's a good point.
yeah, I just think it's unfair. The X-Men, if you want a power, it's in there, And there's so many more compelling stories. Like, they haven't done Jean Grey justice.
No.
Beast, Beast's
Oh,
like
Beast.
they've never done Beast's story right. Like, they just made him into some sad smart boy in the First Class films, but he's so much more. He's so much deeper than that.
I feel like what Beast is essentially what we're getting from Bruce Banner in the MCU right now. Would you disagree with that?
I would have a better example for you, actually.
Okay.
But depending on what you mean, what do you mean by that?
So I'm talking about like very, very strong, very primal instincts, but also like incredibly smart and book smart and just like has a good strategy for just about anything.
So okay, I am gonna agree with you to a degree. I'm gonna actually use somebody's comment in the chat to talk about what my general problem with Marvel is right now. Sage is in the chat. He commented like my favorite character in the MCU, Darwin. Inherently, movies don't know how to deal with comic book characters. Darwin is the prime example, then the Hulk. Darwin is a mutant whose ability is he can adapt to literally any situation and survive through it. So if he's if he falls off of a mountain, he can become weightless so that he can fly away. Or actually, even better, if he falls off of a mountain, he will grow wings so that he can fly and not die. If you toss him in the water and try to drown him, he grows lungs so that way he can breathe water. Like that is his mutation. They killed him in X-Men First Class. They killed an unkillable person. Who what was it? I think he took somebody's atomic power and put it in his mouth, and basically Darwin continued like his mutation caused him to like cycle through a bunch of different mutations to try to figure it out, but then he died. He turned into like rock and then exploded and died. What the hell? Like it like I'm sorry. Like
Oh,
it
Jesus.
there's an inherent misunderstanding and lack of ability to actually do justice to these strong characters. And the Hulk is another example. This is not about to be one of those, oh, they're nerfing the Hulk, oh, da 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 conversations that everybody likes to have. Um, the problem with the Hulk is they don't know how to deal with the fact that he is limitlessly strong. So what did they do? They made him into a Smart Hulk. Like
Yeah.
I will always be on the side of the argument that they did Hulk dirty. They did Hulk very very wrong. Um, I don't know. I'm sorry. I could go on for that for a while, but I
No,
do.
you
Marvel doesn't know how to handle their top tier heavyweight like characters.
I I just want to say I don't think we've seen the best of Hulk yet. I
At
feel
all.
like we are slowly getting there, and I feel like there will be a day that it will pay off. And I just want to say real quick, I know he's probably not watching this or ever going to watch this, but Mark Ruffalo, you are a national treasure. What you stand for as a person and your acting abilities, amazing. I'm so glad that you replaced Edward Norton, and I'm so glad that they addressed that change also
It was
in
great.
in She-Hulk. No disrespect to Edward Norton, but Mark
Oh,
Ruffalo, you are amazing. Just wanted to say that.
I'd like to say that we just went up one viewer, so that I think that's Mark Ruffalo. No, man. As much as I do love Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk or Bruce Banner, should I say? Edward Norton, I still think was an amazing Bruce
Oh yeah,
Banner, and that Hulk, there will never be unless they give us World War Hulk or a Planet Hulk, there will never be a Hulk like what they gave us in the Incredible Hulk movie. That was Hulk. That was the Incredible Hulk. That was busting everybody down and kicking dudes into trees and frickin' snapping bones out of elbows, and it was amazing. They're never
yeah,
gonna do it again.
that was good.
It was so good. It was so good, and that's the Hulk that we deserve. But the
And
Hulk that we're not getting,
it also was like one of the best Stan Lee cameos that we ever got with
really
the
good.
yeah, right, with the gamma radiation coming into the little soda bottle.
Yeah, Marvel doesn't know how to handle their heavy hitters, man. I'm hoping they figure it out. There are apparently a lot of reasons as to why Hulk hasn't worked out, especially with Universal and the film rights, so on and so
hmm
forth.
hmm
Um, and that actually kind of comes full circle with your question about the dude with the claws getting into a bar fight. You know, I as much as I want to say it's Wolverine, apparently the rumor mill says that they cannot recast any of the major X-Men that we're familiar with until 2025. according to contracts that were left over from Fox. Whether that is true or not, I do not know. It would suck if it's
Wait,
true.
contracts with who? Because now they own Fox, don't they?
Yes, but apparently there were existing contracts that Disney had to, stick with.
Oh, with like actors.
Yes, actors. Again, like I have to pull it up. This was a while ago that all this information came to light, but yes, apparently they can't recast the likes of, say, Professor Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, some of the other heavy hitters as far as like that are prominent in the films. They cannot recast them until 2025.
Oh, that's
So
perfect. Just give me Hugh Jackman again. Like, come
no,
on.
no more Hugh Jackman. 5'4" hairy
Um,
Canadian man with cigars. All right, I want that.
oh my
All
god.
right, you all have had your time. Yes, Hugh Jackman is a specimen of a man, and we didn't deserve him, but his time has come. He's dead.
Mm,
Let him be dead. Stop it.
damn it, bro. Damn it. Listen, I want to end this episode by saying something that's not related to this current conversation, but
Say
we
it.
did touch on it a little bit earlier.
Say it.
Um, it's very telling, and it's a big indictment. That my biggest takeaway from our conversation about Microsoft related IPs is that I'm super excited about God of War Ragnarok. I'm
Yeah.
so freaking excited. And the whole time we were talking about Halo, the whole time we were talking about Marcus Phoenix and just how like stale those properties have become. And then we just started segueing into God of War. It just reminded me we are so close to Ragnarok, and I am ready for it. My body is ready.
I am upset because I don't have a PS5 to play it on. There's a PS5 in my house, but unfortunately, the person who owns that PS5 is going to be playing God of War. So, I'm gonna cry, or buy a PS5 and deal with the consequences. All right, I apparently just
Yeah.
had to deal with the consequences. No one could hear it, but my life was threatened, and I want to be here for you guys. So, I guess I'll be playing God of War Ragnarok after everybody else does. So if anybody spoils it for me, I will spoil everything for you at the beginning of every episode of Geeks and Goblins from here on out.
He's not kidding. He already spoiled My Hero Academia for me. But we're not gonna get into it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody else. But
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
to you, to Azu, and also to Trevor, you guys have broken my heart, and that's all I have to say.
Oh yeah, I can spoil My Hero for everybody. So yeah, if any of you ruin, oh god, yeah, all you anime watchers and non-manga readers, if any of you spoil God of War Ragnarok for me, I will tell you all about My Hero Academia. I will tell you everything because I'm caught up, baby. I know who
He'll,
lives and I know who dies. I am your god.
and
Okay?
he
I'm in
will tell you what the One Piece is also.
I will tell you what the One Piece is. All right? I know all things. I know all things. But I digress. Let's go and wrap this episode up. Utopian Revolt. Do you want to tell the people a little bit about next week?
Next week? Yeah, I mean, wait, what the? No, hold up. I thought we were planning it for the week following that. Am I wrong, or am I getting the dates mixed up?
I think you're getting the
I think
days
you
mixed
should
up.
go
I
ahead
just
and
want to
take the
tell them.
reins here for a
I was just
second.
hoping you would tell them what you were going to do next week. Now it sounds like we. No, like what are you looking like? Where are we going to find you?
Oh, oh,
Like-
oh! You're talking about that? I thought you were talking about like the surprise that we have for the chat. No, that can wait. That can wait.
Okay.
Yes, next week. Next week I'm gonna be here on Monday and Friday. Probably around like 7:30 ish, 6:30 ish. If you want like an accurate time, the day that it's happening, down below me you can my Twitter handle. It's at Utopian Revolt. I basically post any updates about my stream times on there. For the most part, I'm trying to stay as consistent as possible with my stream schedule. So Mondays and Fridays, and of course Saturdays on Geeks and Goblins. Every now and then I'll pop up with a video or with a surprise live stream. But yeah, Monday I will be hopping onto Terraria once more, hopefully with the likes of AJ Darkfire, and then Woat, and of course the lovely, lovely, friendly feline. And Friday, I'm not entirely sure. I might hop back onto Monster Hunter Rise. I might do station stuff. I know that 2K23 is coming out, and I do want to live stream when that comes out. So yeah, just stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter, and then also just hop onto the Discord chat that we have linked to the description.
And you will find me at some point next week. Like I want to jump back into Cult of the Lamb for you guys. You know, you might see a little less of me from a streaming perspective. I might be jumping on maybe about once a week, short of some special events, and of course not including the amazing Geeks and Goblins. Of course, that is always going to be part of my repertoire. But you will most likely find me at some point next week playing Cult of the Lamb. Pay attention to the Twitter handle below for all announcements, as well as hopping into the Goblin Gang Entertainment Discord for anything that is pertinent. And of course, we are likely to hopefully get you some more Stray gameplay. I believe we're getting closer to the end of that. We are going to get you some Stray gameplay next week as well. With that said, I'm happy to be back. I am so happy to be back on the Geeks and Goblins grind.
Yeah.
As I said before we went on hiatus, I love this format of us just being able to riff and talk. It feels a lot more smooth, a lot more natural. Next time, I'm not just gonna press the button after calling you. We'll be a little bit more ready to go than today. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I've been OG Goblin. Over there. Oh, I pointed the right way for once. Let's go.
Let's
Over
go!
there, it is going to be the amazing Utopian Revolt. Thank you for joining us on another Geeks and Goblins. We will see you in the stream. Take it easy, folks.
Take care, guys. I love Geeks.